It's different sounds based on where you play on the drum too. Oh, neat.
This is the bass, middle to the edge.
Uh-huh.
The tone, the edge. The slap.
Uh-huh.
You use your fingers.
Yeah. Thank you. This is the West African 1700s farm or homestead, and the people that lived here were the Igbo. They were from what is now modern-day Nigeria, and the Igbo households had a husband and several wives, and each wife lived in her own separate house. And we're gonna walk up and see them. And right up here we have bamboo, and over here there is a banana tree. This is inside one of the, it's almost like a pavilion, and then there's a hut there, and there's another over there. And then there is bamboo planted all the way around the edges here. And the gentleman who was playing the drums told us that the majority of the enslaved people who were sent to Virginia came from the Nigeria, what is now today Nigeria. So that's why they portrayed this homestead to look like how it would have been for the Igbo people, because they came from what is now modern-day Nigeria. For those of you who live in the UK, we're headed to England, and we don't even need to cross the pond. It is that away. Here we are in England. And this house actually is from the 1650s. It was originally in Worcester or Worcestershire. I'm not sure how you all pronounce it. I would say Worcestershire. In the West Midlands in England. It was built in the 17th century for a yeoman family, which is a class of independent farmers. And they were in the middle ranks of English society. And it's really pretty here. Over here there's a little pond. There, you can see it. There's a pond. And then there are tram stops all the way around. They're basically golf carts that they take you from place to place if you don't want to walk. Dave and I have been taking advantage of that. That is the stable up there. And there is, you can't see it real well, but there is a cow. There, we got it. There's a cow over there. And so it belongs to the stable. But for now, we are going to not try to get you dizzy and go back over here and check out the English farm from the 17th century. This is the buttery, and it turns out this house was built in 1631, which is the same year my family came from Derbyshire to New England. And another thing the tour guide said that was interesting was that right after the Civil War in England until I believe it was the 1690s, 120,000 English citizens moved to this area of Virginia. So You can see they've got some fleece over here, and it's Cotswold. It's Cotswold Charlotte, and they're making butter over here.
And I can tell you a little bit about
And that is Dave's hat. He got a new hat.
I don't know how much Alex.
I'm trying to get out of your picture.
This is the parlor. And so yes, the bed goes in the parlor because they want to show it off. And this is like their kitchen cabinets. But because it's fancy, they want to show it off, so it's in the parlor. And now we're going to go through to the hall.
When they moved this beam right up against the wall at the fireplace, they found a gold coin, Charles 1631. Charles I. So he's the king that lost his head that he mentioned. And a visitor was telling me that that's a common thing to do if you're building a ship, a sailing ship, is you put a coin down before you set the mast. So I guess that was where this came. Yeah. But it's pretty amazing to me that you've got a piece of wood here, a tree that grew in the 16th century. There was
have a practice called golden sheep, and all it is you enclose your fields just before you plow them with hurdle fences, and that way you bring the sheep to where you want their manure, then you feed them there, get a heavy dose of manure, and then you plow it in. And it's a progressive way of farming, but they would say that sheep's manure is probably the best manure. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they were doing here in the 17th century. This was the first wind that makes you feel like this might really be the first day of fall. The temperature-wise, it certainly doesn't feel like that.
The Irish homestead and the blacksmith's forge are from the 1750s, and they came from, let's see, they stood in Keenagan Townland in County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland. So, and here is a look at the farm itself. And we'll get a better picture when we get closer. And here is the Irish forge that we're going to go in. This is the Irish forge that we're going to go in. And those are the primitive transportation traveling up there. This is the Irish farm over here.
So typically when we're down here, if you needed something for any of our farms, we'll make it right here. But every single thing there on the table, those are all handmade. Feel free to look at them. But the shop here is original to Ireland, and originally was part of just a little farming community. So if you were visiting here kind of in its heyday, and you needed repairs done, or if you needed horseshoes or wagon parts or custom farm tools, that's going to be sort of the work that's going on in here. The blacksmiths support the community more so by maintaining things than by making things.
Building on the left is the long barn, and this is the house. It's from the 1750s from Ulster.
Irish, but then are going to skedaddle again. They don't have as deep of roots as some.
Here's my favorite room.
Plus, they're not in feudal relationships.
There's a walking wheel
Relationship with the landlord.
and a yarn winder,
A feudal lord where you're like,
spinning wheel. It's a flax wheel, and there is flax on the wheel. And I was asking her how to run the flax through the wheel too. Some tips. And there's a loom.
my relationship. So once that stops being advantageous for you, seek the opportunity somewhere else. So that's why we end up with a lot of Scots-Irish people in our family.
So this was built in Ireland?
Yeah. So just like the other old houses, this is the original period building.
Yeah, they were brought
And
here.
this is actually the first building the museum got. It was 4 sites originally, and this was the first one we got as part of a kind of cultural exchange with North Ireland because they wanted a traditional kind of Scots-Irish log cabin that the state of Virginia had. So we said, well, we send you something, you'll send us something. And so the museum originally was this site, England, Germany, and
I don't know how well it's going to pick up because it's so dark. Yeah, this is inside the wigwam. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it because it's dark. Oh, there we go. Now you can see a little bit. This is Germany. There is, Dave told me there is a hog up here. There it is on the other side of the fence. And these are some of the barns. They look like wattle and daub. And here is the house. The Irish house had, this has a shingled roof. And I'm totally blanking out. We were just talking about it, Dave and I, the type of roof the Irish house did, the reeds. So we'll go inside and take a peek.
Page 12.
So here's the inside when you first walk in. And then there's a room over here. You can see the beams up top. And that probably would have been her hope chest. And there's some little hobby horses. And I like the pewter. And here's a bedroom here. And there's some weaving, or not weaving, some spinning wheels. This is called a parlor wheel or castle wheel because you literally pedal right above the wheel. There's another hope chest. And some clothes and hats. There isn't an interpreter in this building. He's at lunch right now. Dave's trying to read something that's written in German because he does speak some German and Spanish. I do not. So he's trying to figure it out. And this looks like it was a tailor's shop because here is a taller table. And there's a tape measure, so I'm assuming this was where tailoring was done, and there's bolts of cloth there. And some clothing. And over there is a table for cutting as well. And I'm thinking, based on that, that goes upstairs, but we're not going to do that. They have some wooden shoes here. Here's your early Crocs. And then this, I guess, would be what they would use as their kitchen. There's a little bread oven right there. And again, this hearth is tall. It's as tall as it's actually taller than I am. I'm standing inside it right now and I'm 5'4", so it's probably about 5'6" up to the top here. You can smell the wood smoke. And that's where the fire would be, and then they have some logs underneath here. Oh, I like that cabinet. That's pretty. And they have lots of stoneware pottery, which I also like. There, you can see it. Some real pretty stoneware or salt glazed pottery. That's what the gray with the blue is. There's a big one here. I have some at home. And there is a drying rack. And this is the door we came in.
There you are.
I know.
You'll see kind of a little bit of a variation here between older reproductions in this part of the house and that part where there's 6 feet. But in a house like this, it's had a long lifespan. But you would furnish it. Particularly for a museum purpose, you have to be mindful of the type of family that would live in there and things like that. You just not going to have everything in this part of the house dating 1820 as it's dated, because I mean, we all have old stuff in our houses that's a couple generations old.
Yeah.
At least,
Yeah.
So what was the little door for?
To allow heat, we think, into that room.
Oh,
Keep the door
okay.
closed, allow heat in there, and of course the heat wouldn't escape that much.
Oh, okay.
That's our theory, anyway. So.
Well, there's a stove right there, so.
Yes,
That makes sense. She has a YouTube channel, so.
So I know
Very good.
anything with the wool, everybody's going to be interested in.
Okay. This is merely, okay, I think that is probably Tunis wool up there. That we grow 2 breeds of sheep here at the museum. Tunis on this side of the museum,
Right.
Cotswolds on the old world side
Okay.
over there. And so this is, the Carters are not really that period. They look a lot like, but it'll keep kids busy.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yep.
So, it'll keep
I've
kids
carded
busy.
using those before.
Yeah.
It's a long process.
It's a very long process.
Yeah.
To get the
That's a cheese press.
no,
I
it's
think.
a cider
Cider press.
cider press. No, cider. No, excuse me, cider press. I don't know.
Our son he had cider press. He had the apples on his tree
Yeah.
in the fall.
So he makes his own cider.
Yeah. Makes his own cider, apple butter.
Does he? Good for him.
He has people come over and they
Does he-
all help pick the apples, and
Yeah.
then they have a fall party and they make the cider, and then everybody goes home with a gallon of
Does
cider.
he let the is it fresh cider? Does he let the cider get hard?
No,
He
just
does?
fresh
He
cider.
takes fresh cider?
Yeah.
Because it goes out, the hard cider, that was how you preserved it.
Oh, okay.
Now, it's like so many of the alcohol content was relatively low, like really low, but it was enough for preservation.
Right.
Uh huh.
So,
Huh.
as was brewing, early on.
Uh huh.
It was called small beer or small ale, and the early brewing had just enough alcohol content in it that it would preserve it
Uh huh.
and keep it. So I think cider went the same way, except for the apples have more sugar in them, so I'm thinking that may have been a little more loaded.
Yeah.
Certainly.
The other portion of the house was built in 1773, but this is built in 1820s. And there's the floor to the floor above.
I'm not the timbers in there are more, these are cruiser.
And out here, you can see the next farm we're going to go to, which is right there. This was a house built by a German immigrant. Part of it is log, I'm not sure which part, but part of it was log and built in the 1830s, and the other half was built in the 1850s. So there's lots of little outbuildings, which we aren't going to go into all of them, but we'll go inside the main house.
I am making a lattice top apple pie.
Now this is the 1820s section?
50s.
This is the next door's the 1850 or 1820s?
1850s farm.
Oh, okay.
There we go. And then that's good. I think I'm going to put, you don't want to skimp on it. And actually what I've done here to get it to this is it's called a puff paste.
Uh-huh.
So you're mixing flour and water, and you put a couple eggs if you want to, or you don't have to. You roll that out and you dot it with butter multiple times. The receipt calls for anywhere from 6 to 12 times.
Uh-huh.
And I do 3 or 4, that's enough. And then we don't have to clog our arteries.
Uh-huh.
And then what you're going to do after that, you're going to go ahead, and I lined it, you can see this dish, I lined that with that crust, and then did the apples. And the apples, the receipt is comes from the Virginia housewife. So you're going to have a layer of apples with sugar, and then a light little bit of cloves you sprinkle around. Then I did another layer of apples with sugar, but I didn't put cloves on that layer. And then I did a third layer of apples with sugar and cloves. And then I was supposed to go lunch, so I didn't. But then came back and went ahead and made this, because I thought, I want to do this. I've never got to do this.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. And this kind of it's okay for this time period. Not all time periods at the museum can I do this, so it's kind of fun to do something a little different, you know.
So what kind of flour did you use?
Historic flour, it's wheat flour, white flour, also wheat germ, wheat bran, and pastry flour.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So,
And what kind of apples are these?
actually, I'm not sure about the one kind. And then the other kind, I put a couple Honey Crisp in. But, you know, I can do one more there. Just gonna tuck that in there. Oops. It's kind of fun to do something you don't get to do.
Yeah.
So,
So would you bake it in the Dutch oven then?
yes, I'm going to. Very much so.
Is it okay if I walk in the other room? And
Sure.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Thank you.
And the house comes from Botetourt County down near Roanoke, a little place called Eagle Rock.
Oh, okay.
And they're growing wheat primarily for cash, and they're also growing tobacco as a secondary cash crop. And then they're growing corn for the family as well as the animals. So.
Oh, okay. I love the cupboard in here.
Oh yeah.
That is so pretty. And the blue and white china.
Yes.
Oh, they have oilcloths in here.
Yes, it is.
These buildings sitting here, I tried to photograph coming in, but you can see them much better now. These were insane asylums. They were built in the 1920s, and a lot of it was for orphan children or for children that had what we would now call learning disabilities. And they lived here, and it has since been overgrown. It's owned by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and they actually own a lot of the property that the museum's on as well, but they're abandoned now.